The clean type.
What's going on, people? Myke C-Town here with another episode of Out of My Element, where you guys get to pick the album that I review. And the winner of the poll for this video is Blink-182's Untitled Album. Untitled or self-titled, whatever floats your boat. I don't care. So this was a poll that only my patrons got to vote on. They got to actually add the albums and vote on them. This was not opened up to the public for this particular video. And so Blink-182. I don't have a history with these guys at all. You know, they got popular around 1997, and by that time I was already in college and was diving more and more into metal. And the punk rock I did listen to was the stuff that actually had a point and a purpose. Bands that were actually saying something with their music. So I was more into like the harder punk stuff, you know, crust and hardcore was more my thing in 97. And even the pop punk that I did listen to, you know, was stuff like Propaganda or Bad Religion or Born Against or Good Riddance. You know, again, bands that were saying something in their music. But you know, that's not to say that I wasn't listening to any of the fun pop punk. You know, I still listen to stuff like Pennywise and NoFX, and I was definitely into Rancid. I still love Rancid, but I never fell into the whole radio punk thing. That shit was such a huge contradiction for me that I really wanted nothing to do with it. So bands like Offspring and Sum 41 and Green Day, you know, they all missed me back in those days. You know, I saw all of those bands as examples of everything terrible happening to punk. And Blink-182 kind of became the poster boys for the whole punk is dead mentality that me and a lot of my friends had back then. It's funny, I just mentioned that I loved Rancid. I don't know why Rancid got a pass from me. I have no idea. What are you gonna do? But I remember when that What's My Age Again song came out, and I absolutely fucking hated it, man. I hated every single thing about it. I thought it was awful. And then I hated everything else that I ever heard from this band. I remember dating a girl that loved Blink-182, and I was just like, I don't know if this is gonna work. There was nothing at all punk about this shit to me. At the time, I mean, I couldn't give a fuck now. 20 years later, I do understand how important this band was to a lot of people. You know, they ushered a lot of folks in to punk rock, which, you know, cool, man, I guess. But I just always found them to be a terrible band, personally. So I never even bothered to give an entire album a listen, because every song I heard in passing was just really bad to me. And by the time this came out in 2003, I really had no desire to hear anything that Blink-182 had to say. So fast forward to 2021, and here we are, man. This wins an Out of My Element poll, which I don't really understand. Like, why did you guys pick this particular album? I don't get it. But dude, when I hit play, this is not even close to what I expected. Look, I had no idea that Blink-182 went through this phase of not really wanting to be a pop punk band. I had no idea. I know nothing about these guys. So hearing this, I was like, what the fuck? Is this the right album? Feeling This is the first song, and this feels like they were trying really hard to be a rock band that would be taken seriously instead of a goofy pop punk band. And again, I found this to be really bad. Like, it's a bad love song or something. Like, I don't even really get it. Like, it's almost like they're trying really hard to make this poetic, but to me it just sounds like an 8th grader writing the cool girl at school a poem in his diary, a poem that he's never actually ever really gonna give to her because he's afraid of rejection. And they're singing it in this really whiny way. Let me take off your clothes, I'm feeling this. Place your hand in mine, I'll leave when I wanna. Look, I like some really whiny emo shit. I listen to a lot of the early to mid 90s and even the late 90s emo shit, and it's pretty whiny, but this is on another level to me. And I felt the same way with the song Obvious. The guitar work is driving and the song composition is a bit more on the radio rock side than the pop punk side. And the only thing that really makes this still sound sort of like a goofy pop punk band are those whiny vocals. Like, I'm not shitting on a band for wanting to mature at all. I'm not one of those kids who's like, if you were punk once, you gotta stay punk for the rest of your life. You know, bands are allowed to change and grow, man. But this to me is just, it's not good, man. There's no feeling or passion or intensity or anything here. It just sounds extremely by the numbers to me. The song I Miss You, holy shit, man. Is this a Stained cover? I just can't really take this song seriously. Like, even if it wasn't Blink-182, everything here just sounds so basic and heartless to me. It's clearly going for that sentimental kind of feeling, but it's just not connecting with me. It just feels really, really forced, like a band trying to make what they think a sentimental song sounds like. The song Down was the first one that didn't really give me a headache. It wasn't good, as in it's not something I'd ever return to, but it was still a fairly paint by the numbers rock song, but something about it was a bit more sonically pleasing than the others here. The guitar riff isn't bad, especially on the hook, and Tom doesn't sound quite as whiny here. The down, 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 down part was a bit annoying, but the rest of it's okay. But Go was actually even better. It's a more up-tempo punk song about domestic violence, and I don't know if this is a true story about Mark's parents, but he's singing from the perspective of someone whose mom is getting beat by his father. The guitars are a bit more aggressive, and they finally don't sound like they're shooting for the radio with this song. It actually sounds like what I expected this album to sound like, but just a bit more serious as far as the songwriting and the topic goes. But that feeling of content for me was very short-lived, as they went right back to the very boring and uninspired alternative rock sound immediately after that with Asthenia and Always, two songs that I really, really did not enjoy. When it got to the song All of This, I thought, is this why you guys recommended this album? Because this song features Robert Smith. Did you guys think that all it would take was a Robert Smith feature for me to be like, oh man, this album's great? I mean, this is easily the best song on the album, because this one had more of a Cure feel. I don't know if they already had this song written before Robert Smith agreed to do the song with them, or if they wrote it specifically for him, but even in the guitar work, it definitely feels like a Cure song. When I heard it, it immediately felt like it could have fit on the Cure's self-titled album, which came out like a year after this album, which is kind of interesting. But all that to say, this song is all right. Like I said, it's the best song on the album, but it's still not like an awesome song or anything that I would return to. Overall, I really did not like this album at all. Of course, I recognize my attitude towards this is fairly personal. This isn't the type of punk that I like or have ever liked. I don't even know if this is even considered punk to regular people, but this just comes off as extremely watered down alternative rock with no feeling or passion. And sure, I understand that the lyrics mean a lot to them. You know, the subject matter is very heartfelt at times. I get all that. But the way it's presented sonically just comes off as extremely basic to me personally. This isn't to say that the musicianship is bad. You know, they're all fine musicians and they play their instruments competently, but that's really all that I can give this album. I don't hear the masterpiece material that other folks hear. And I also get that they felt like writing more mature music that was more meaningful to them. You know, I'm not a fan of folks that assume that every pop punk band needs to stay dumb kids writing songs about poop, farts, and boobies. But at the same time, I also kind of accept bands that do that. Hi, Screeching Weasel. But even in the realm of punk bands maturing and writing more accessible music, this just doesn't work for me. While listening to this, I was immediately reminded of the album Crash Love by AFI, which is an album that I feel has the same sort of feel to this, even though they'd already started moving away from their more straightforward punk sound prior to this one. Crash Love saw AFI really maturing their sound, and on first listen, I hated that album. But I put it down for a few years and I came back to it, and now it's one of my favorites in their catalog. Great musicianship with a strong sense of song structure and a lot of catchiness. It almost felt like they took this formula and made it 10 times better. but I don't want to disrespect them. They did well for themselves, obviously. They created a huge fan base. I'm sure they made a shit ton of money. I know one of them is an alien conspiracy theorist wacko like myself, so that's cool. I kind of wish he was talking about that shit on this album. I may have sort of enjoyed it a drop more. But as I said earlier, this was just not punk to me. Not musically, not thematically. The idea of someone with a mohawk playing this on an MTV stage to a whole bunch of drunk girls in bikinis and dude bros with a Corona in one hand and a Natty Light in the other hand, yelling, "Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby!" It just, I don't know, man. It just never properly computed to me. Like, this is seriously like asking some like super pretentious backpacker who spent his youth going to like basement rap shows and rap battles and freestyle ciphers to give his opinion on a fucking Macklemore album. If you get angry at him not liking it, then you're simply clueless of the genre as a whole, but especially you're clueless of the different niche breakdowns within it. You know, I feel the same way about you guys tossing this album to me. But yeah, if you guys like it, that is great. I'm not one of those guys that wants to convince someone not to like anything. So if you enjoyed it, I'm glad you enjoyed it. This shit, it gets no play in my ride. So that's it. There's a new poll down there in the description section for the next Out of My Element video. Click that, vote, all that good shit. And if you want to be someone that can add albums to the next poll, you gotta become a patron. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. And the link for that is down there in the description section as well. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. I hope I don't have a whole bunch of dudes with faux hawks and tribal tattoos and Monster Energy drink t-shirts trying to attack me the next time I'm at a Warped Tour. Do they even have those anymore? I don't think they do. That shows how old I am. Back when Warped Tour was cool. Even Warped Tour was cool. I wasn't cool enough to go to Warped Tour. I thought it was stupid. That doesn't matter. Has no relevance to this video. I'm rambling. All right. Thank you for living. Thank you for loving. Thank you for being you. And I'll see you guys next time. All right. Oh, I don't do that. I do this. Peace out.